Previously on Bollockz.
Bollocks. There's a bloke that does what's it called? Blogs.
Yep.
Guy that
Blogs
does
and
blogs on balls.
Blogs.
Keegan Kruger. A couple of weeks ago, we were talking about Chiefs going down to play Ajax. I said Ajax have sold all their best players. Keegan Kruger very bravely on Twitter, in the face of vociferous Amakosi resistance, said that actually Ajax Cape Town, despite selling Mabuti Kenyeza, they sold, what's the other guy? Karma Biliat. They got rid of their coach at one point, didn't they, in the middle of last season? They nearly went down last season, Keegan. Keegan came out and said, watch out, Kaiser Chiefs. We've got a good bunch of youngsters. I mean, we know Ajax have got a great youth system, great academy, and their kind of roots in the Amsterdam Ajax. And of course, what do? They won it with a 17-year-old Tariq Morris, scoring in the last minute, shocking Stuart Baxter and his Amakosi, and Keegan Kruger was spot on. Since then, I've been monitoring Keegan Kruger's tweets, and this lad talks a lot of sense down in Cape Town. He's on Skype. If anyone's following on www.bulls.co.za, you'll see Keegan on Skype now. You'll see me on the other end in my Arsenal shirt. He also has a view on English football. So, Keegan, can you hear me? Because I can't hear him.
I can hear you.
Oh no, I've got you. Go. Your comfort's moving the old air controls around on the big. Keegan, Ajax Cape Town. What kind of crowds are they getting, Keegan? What kind of future does Cape Town football have when you've got all these brilliant young players there?
Do you want the true story, or do you want to fabricate the story?
Mate, you've got to be. I mean, with John Comite's gone, I'm worried about football in Cape Town. You get great crowds when Bafana play down there, when Pirates or Chiefs play down there, which isn't often enough, I don't think, because obviously they're an international brand, and they're a national brand, aren't they, Pirates and Chiefs? Tell us the truth about Cape Town football, Keegan, please.
I think it's pretty much it's in a bit of spot and bother at the moment, in all honesty, Neil. The crowds aren't great that come out to the games, unless it's one of the Soweto Giants. It's especially with Chipper getting relegated outside, or getting relegated last season. It was a bit of a problem, and things in Cape Town aren't looking good at the moment. But hopefully, Ajax can restore some hope, and hopefully we can get a few teams out of the NFD back into the PSL.
Yeah, I mean, Vasco da Gama's a big club, always has been down there. I mean, the Cape Town Spurs used to be a big thing, and then Ajax came along and kind of merged a few franchises, didn't they? And you've still got that great youth network. You've still got a lot of good football being played, across the what we call the Western Cape. Are these players at Ajax going to get a chance to show more than just the odd win against Kaiser Chiefs? Do they have the structure down there to start developing a side? How many years ago was it when Tulani Serrero was there, when you guys finished second or third, wasn't it? That 3 years ago when Pirates won their first double, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was probably about 4 years ago when Tulani left. Listen, the club's producing. We're producing talent. Is it PSL talent, or is it really European sort of quality talent? That's still, I think those are still questions that need to be asked. I think we're producing enough talent when it comes to guys to be able to compete in the PSL. We all know money is a big thing in football these days, and probably a club like Ajax can't really afford the big paychecks that some of the sides like Pirates, Chiefs and Sundowns can, and it is difficult to keep hold of players. The youth system is here, and if you look at the youth system in Cape Town, and you look at the youth sides, and you look at Ajax Cape Town when they go to these competitions overseas, and these night competitions with Man United and things again, they do well and they compete with the best in the world. Unfortunately, I think as soon as they get to a certain age group, I think that's where it sort of stagnates a little bit, and that's something that needs to be looked at. And I do know that we always say, there's always a lot of talk in South African football that there's money for youth development and things like that, but we really need to start taking it seriously, because we're throwing away a lot of talent.
Yeah, not just throwing it away, but I don't know. So some of the guys could have. If you could keep a side together down in Cape Town, this is my impression, for 2 or 3 years, put together and not sell the promising ones. It's not just like they sell the best ones. The promising ones suddenly turn up. There was a goalkeeper I met at Wits the other night. He grew up in Cape Town. He's not playing much for Wits at the moment. He may make his way back into the team, but with Manip there, he's not playing. But he was an Ajax lad, great lad, and he moved up here just because that's where the money is. And I find that shocking that we can't develop a franchise that can keep players in Cape Town.
Yeah, no, for sure. We really need to. That's something that we really need to work on. I don't know how we don't really have the answer down here quite yet, but we've got to really sit down and people in football have really got to try and work the way around it. I mean, it's the one way that Cape Town football can improve. It's also a way that the youth will be able to sort of get them into your youth system nice and early. They know they can have a future here in Cape Town. As we all know, I mean, we sort of did an interview with Brady Kruger a few years, last season, sorry, not a few years, and I had a good chat to him just when he arrived in Cape Town after his little stint out in Turkey, and the lad really, really loved Cape Town, was really hoping to do well down here.
Yeah.
I know he is a Joburg boy, and he got sent back up to Joburg just because sort of I feel it didn't fit into a manager's plan. And, players like that in situations like that we need to try and stop it. And we need to try and keep players down here in the Cape. And we have the facilities, we have a lovely stadium down here, and if we have a successful team down here, we'll sort of get bums in seats, as they say.
So, are you of the view, Keegan? And I know that you look at international football, you also look at cricket and rugby. Are you of the view, like I am, that maybe South Africa should start thinking about a franchise system where we move a proper franchise to Port Elizabeth, a proper franchise to Cape Town, and kind of move away from the kind of European-based, promotion, relegation, wherever the money is, no salary cap, big transfer fees at Sundowns. I can't help thinking that the healthier system for South African football would be to make sure that every city is represented.
It's not a bad idea, Neal, at all. In South African South African sport, it seems to be the way, it seems to be the working way. But unfortunately, in the world of football, the franchising thing doesn't really work. And, we've got to decide what's best for us, I guess, at the end of the day, and what's best for the fun and what's best for our national teams. And cricket and rugby went down the franchise route. It is working, and we can see it is working. You look at how many World Cups that teams qualify for and how the teams do in the World Cups. Yes, but the protests, we have a bit of a hiccup in World Cup cricket, but the Springboks, every second year they produce the goods. And, we've got to start sitting down and looking at a way of what's best for South African football and also what's best for European football at the end of the day.
Yeah, I worry about it. I do think that we're moving more and more to a Gauteng-based kind of situation where Golden Arrows and Amazulu can't really compete. They might occasionally flower a little bit. Listen, I'm also interested, Kiwa, how come you're talking about the World Cup qualifiers last night? Did you also keep an eye on them? There were some fascinating ones last night. You're just talking to me about Mexico, New Zealand on Twitter. And there was also what was the other one last night that was so interesting? I saw it ended about 6-0.
It was Uruguay and Jordan.
Uruguay, Jordan, was that 6-0?
The last time, I stopped counting at 5, so it could possibly be 6-0.
I'm just trying to find it on BBC here. That I think these are fascinating little World Cup playoffs between your kind of CONCACAF and Asia and all that. We've got a situation where Mexico played New Zealand last night, and we've got a situation where Uruguay played Jordan, who would have been the 5th best side in Asia. Because I don't like the African system where the 10 group winners have to play each other to get those 5 spots in the World Cup. Nowhere else in the world do group winners of World Cup qualifiers have to play a playoff to get to Brazil next year. Only in Africa, and I find that really, really gets my goat. Any particular games you pick out over the weekend in terms of World Cup qualifiers? Keegan, you keep an eye on these things?
Geez, there's
Yeah, there's quite a few big ones actually. I think the Ukraine France one is something to really look at. You look at that French side, you know, there's stars, there's big names, but put them together and you know they're utter shambles at times. So I don't think that's going to be easy going for France. I think they actually, if there's a team to slip up, they might be that team to slip up. I do know Sweden and Portugal. A lot of people are looking at that and saying, you know, that's the pick of the weekend. But you know, I've actually watched Portugal through their last three qualifiers and bits and pieces, and in all honesty, they haven't actually been that bad. Even though you know there's been a few shock results in their group that they had. Um, you know, I do know people say, you know, Sweden have got this Latin factor and things like that, but you know, I really think this Portuguese side is sort of slowly starting to grow. And you look at a guy like Ronaldo, and that there's, you know, he's sort of understanding what a captain's all about, and especially what weight the nation has behind him. And now I've got a feeling they might get through it. But if I had to pick them aside to let's say balls it up this weekend, let's say France.
Yeah. Have we lost him?
No,
I think
he's
you just
still on
locked
the
up.
line.
Keegan, I don't know if you can still hear me, but I mean, you look at that French side, right? And it's
I can hear you.
oh, right. I'm just looking at this French side, right? Hugo Lloris, if his head is still on his shoulders, he played on after he was knocked out the other day for Spurs. Wouldn't let Brad Friedel come on. He got banged on the head, carried on playing. The lad that banged him on the head, was it Lukaku? He had to come off with a nearly broken knee. Hugo Lloris in goal. Then you've got Koscielny, Abadal, Evra at the back. And you've got Cabaye, who we love at Newcastle, Ribéry, and up front Oliver Giroud and Karim Benzema. I mean, it's a side of great stars. And you look at the Ukraine team that they're playing against. Most of them are in their 30s. You know, as we've just said, we finally lost the old Shevchenko up front when he got to like nearly 40. But you're looking at a side that's aged. Most of their players are. It's a bit like the Egyptian side we were looking at the other day. They got done by Ghana. I just wonder if France are going to finally blossom in this game against Ukraine. Obviously, the first leg in Ukraine, you'd expect maybe a draw. Second leg in Paris, I can see them really thumping this lot.
I do totally agree with you there. I think if France can get out of there with a draw, things will look really good for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And then we're going to lose.
But yeah, if things don't go right.
If things don't go right, the French can be as nasty as
problem.
any group of fans. As normal, Skype isn't really living up to its kind of reputation here. I'm losing you a lot, I'm afraid, Keegan. Just basically, to lose Cristiano Ronaldo or Zlatan Ibrahimovic from the World Cup in Brazil next year would be a great blow to an awful lot of people in Europe, because the two of them are, you know, great entertainers, great goal scorers, and great icons, not just in football but in fashion and in all kinds of things. I do think that Sweden might get the edge. Sweden internationally, I think, could pull it out here. It would be a real shock not to have Portugal and not to have Cristiano Ronaldo, who I think is probably a better player than Messi at the moment. Be a real shock not to see him at the World Cup, but I can see Sweden pulling this off over two legs.
Yeah, I won't disagree with you at all there. I think that, you know, that really is the big game of the weekend, and you know, I think it can really go both ways. You know, as we know, unfortunately, I don't like to bring this up, but the last World Cup, we saw the Ireland situation. Sometimes it comes down to just a poor refereeing decision here or there. So, you know, anything can happen in the world of football. We know it's they put all this goal line technology and on extra referees and things like that, but now and then the right decision still doesn't come out. So I think we're going to be in for a good weekend of football, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah, great stuff, Keegan. It's good to speak to you. Good luck with your blogs. And people, Keegan, you're just Keegan Kruger, aren't you? At Keegan Kruger, is there an underscore somewhere? Or is it just Keegan Kruger?
No, it's just at Keegan Kruger, straight away.
That's right. I don't think I've ever talked to a bloke called Kruger about soccer before, but it's nice to have your knowledge, and I just hope that we can find a way that Cape Town, Port Elizabeth, places like that don't become footballing backwaters. I don't know quite how you do it, unless you go to the kind of system that the Curry Cup's used for so many years in this world, some kind of franchise. So I love promotion and relegation, but I don't want to see Cape Town without a team next season. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen now. We'll see what happens. Okay, Keegan, great to talk to you, mate.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks for the opportunity. We'll catch up again soon.
Great stuff, Keegan. Cheers, mate. Keegan Kruger. I always find Skype a little bit difficult when we start to have that time delay and that lapse. Keegan Kruger doing his thing in Cape Town. He also coaches football. He's an analyst, a punter. He's on Pundits. He actually founded that Pundits SA thing, didn't he? Which is brilliant. I mean, some of the writing on there is absolutely excellent, guys. If you get a chance to look at the Pundits SA on Twitter and Blogs on Balls is a program that we do here on Balls Radio, where these guys producing in their blogs stuff that you don't get. I think it's a lot better than some of the stuff you get in the papers. I'm shocked by the paucity of good comment in some of the newspapers in this country. And I'm not talking football so much, but rugby and cricket.
Visual Radio. Weekdays from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Central African Time. Radio like you've never seen it before. Balls.co.za